new nuances of the story. You can talk about Ghostbusters in an open meeting. Amend the agenda to talk about Ghostbusters.
Okay, good morning. Can everyone hear me and see the slides? Yes, great. Welcome to our June Active Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. We are currently streaming to YouTube, so we're live, and we're having a hybrid meeting, which means that we do have people here in our office at CDTC, but also members are participating remotely. So I'm going to go through all the participants that I see here on Zoom, just to make sure that we have you down for attendance. If I don't call your name when I get to the end, please let me know. I'm Jen Saponis from CDTC, and here in the office we have Martin Daly from CDRPC and Rima Shamaya from CDTC. On Zoom, we have Scott Riegel from the Binghamton Metropolitan Transportation Study. We have Carrie Ward from CDTC. Audrey Bernison from DOT, Charles Welchie from Albany County Department of Health, Ed Brennan from the Albany Bicycle Coalition, Ethan Warren from CDTA, Jen Hogan from the New York State Department of Health, Jim Moore, I think that's Jim Moore from Denison. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I got your organization wrong. John Mitchell from the Half Moons Trails Committee, John Scavo from Town of Clifton Park, Linda Vonderheide from Rensselaer County, Meg O'Leary from Saratoga County Department of Health, and Valerie Dean from New York State DOT. And we have two more people in the office. Yay! We have Karen Lohr and Megan Fennell from New York State DOT. Okay, so I understand that you actually are seeing my notes. Is this better? Do you see the, okay, full screen slide? Maybe. Okay. Okay, so welcome, and we're gonna, our first agenda item is a presentation from Scott Riegel, who works for the Binghamton Metropolitan Transportation Study. BMTS is a metropolitan planning organization, just like CDTC, but in the Binghamton urban area of New York. So Scott, if you want to start sharing your screen, I'll pass it to you.
Okay. And can everyone see the slide there? Okay. Yep. And okay, it's just want to wish everyone a good morning. It's good to be a part of the meeting and to be able to share what BMTS has done as far as its basically scoring our Two Rivers Greenway trails and helping out our municipalities with the maintenance process. Just wanted to give a little background. As Jen mentioned, I'm Scott Riegel. I'm with the Binghamton Metropolitan Transportation Study. And if you're not familiar with the Binghamton area, this shows a map of the area that our MPO covers. So we cover portions of Broome and Tioga County and the Binghamton urban area there. And just a little background too of what the Two Rivers Greenway is. It's a regional trail system that we've been developing starting since 1999. That's when BMTS did a Binghamton Metropolitan Greenway study, basically looking at the feasibility of building a contiguous trail system, primarily following the two rivers in our area, the Shenango and Susquehanna rivers. And this map is from that study, and the green lines here show where it was deemed feasible to build out trails, and the yellow lines are where we would connect with bike routes and make improvements on the roadways to make connections, as it was deemed it was not feasible in those areas for greenways. And there is a red line on there. That's the current piece, 2.5 mile piece that's under construction right now, which we're excited about, connecting downtown Binghamton to Binghamton University's Vestal campus. This slide is actually showing, and I'll show this map again. It's showing the existing pieces of the trails and the ratings for each one. So we'll get a little more information on this a little bit later on, but showing you the status of implementation of the trail system. The name Two Rivers Greenway came about in 2012 when we did a signing plan. And so we developed a name and the logo that you see at the top right of the slide there. And here's just a few photos of the different pieces of the Two Rivers Greenway throughout the Binghamton urban area. Yeah. So as the Two Rivers Greenway trail system was being built and each new piece being added, it was great to see the excitement of people using the new trails. And but what we quickly realized, especially with some of the pieces that were built earlier on in the around 1999 and early 2000s, we're realizing that in order to have the trail system be safe and enjoyable for all the users, that they need to be properly maintained. And that included of course, the trail pavement surface, but also maintenance in the environment around the trails as well. So that includes vegetation and different amenities that are on the trails. So recognizing this, in the summer of 2019, we had our summer intern work on the Greenway, the first trail maintenance report. So what the intern did with this project was made recommendations for maintenance of trail sections on the Two Rivers Greenway, and looked at what different agencies did in New York and throughout the country for maintaining trails. And this document actually used some ideas from the Albany area as well as Ithaca area, and so basically gave us a baseline to start our process of having basically scoring and rating the trails every 2 years, and basically again, being able to provide the municipalities, which are the ones that maintain the trails, own and maintain the trails, provide them with the information they're needing to be able to keep up with trail maintenance, and realizing that if there's an opportunity to do preventative maintenance or smaller, keep ahead of such things like filling cracks, that type of thing, will make it cheaper in the long run than to let the trail deteriorate and then have to do a major reconstruction. And then also, again, it's best for the trail users' safety and their user experience to have a well-maintained trail. So we built off of this trail maintenance plan that was created in 2019 to basically start doing every 2 years a scoring of our trail system. And what we did was update that 2019 trail maintenance plan. We did get a little bit more specific than that one did, as far as breaking down the trail segments of the Two Rivers Greenway into about 1/10 mile segments. And then we use the ArcGIS collector app which is we're fortunate to have one of our colleagues who's very tech savvy and able to do that. Unfortunately, she has gone on to another position, so we're hoping to learn how to do this ourselves and to be able to keep doing this. But that app was a major part of how we did this trail rating. And the way we rated the trails was using kind of like a visual scale from 1 to 4, 1 being poor, 2 being fair, 3 being good, and 4 excellent. And so we were assessing the pavement, basically making the decision on a score on the type of severity of cracking that might be present on the trail and the frequency of cracking on the trails, or any type of distress that we're seeing on the trails. So the pavement was one part of the trail rating that we did, and the other was maintenance in general. So that, as I mentioned, was anything around the trails that we noticed needed to be maintained or was being well maintained. So for instance, vegetation is a big thing that we are dealing with, and maybe you're dealing with. We have quite a bit of that Japanese knotweed along the riverbanks that just seems to take over everything. And there's other things like that we have to deal with as far as vegetation goes. But also, as trash and a problem along the trails is, are the benches well maintained, or bike parking, those type of things we looked at. And then we gave this 1 to 3 score there. Are things being poorly maintained, and are they being generally maintained? And then there's well maintained. And to a degree, with the pavement and the maintenance scores, there is some subjectivity to that. But we had 2 people go out and do the trail rating, so we kind of would work together on determining a score there. What we would like to do, especially with the pavement, one that was modeled after what we had been doing for our annual pavement, roadway pavement scores, using the state DOT's visual scale. And then there's also a matrix, which again is uses the type of distress and severity of it, as well versus the frequency of it, to help determine a score. So I can see us doing a matrix in future years to help us make at least the pavement scores less subjective. But really the whole purpose here is to give the municipalities an idea of what state the trails are, and to encourage them to be maintaining them as much as possible. In addition to doing these scorings, we also made note of events, we called them, of things that we saw that were particularly in need of being addressed by the municipalities, and we would document that on using the collector app, and then also take photos of those and report those to the municipalities. And also we made note of any signage along the trails that needed to be, if there was damage to those, or even if there were some ADA accessibility issues with those, we made a note of that and had that as a part of our report. And as you can see over to the right here, that's kind of using Canva for our design for the report. We were able to put the information in a way that was easy to read, and also put comments down at the bottom of each page. And I can go to the report here and show you what that looks like. And is everyone seeing the report at this point, or?
No, we still see your slide.
Still see the slide. So let me change, and I'll share the report here. Okay. And this is on our website, and maybe you've even had a chance to take a look at it. But the idea is we put the information in the report for each piece of the trail system, and have a map of the trail system, the portion that we're talking about. For instance, this is the Binghamton portions of the trail. And we give the general pavement and maintenance conditions along the trails. It's coded as well on the map, and I'll show you the map. We have an interactive map as well. But then we put some of the most important comments down at the bottom here as well, so the municipality is aware of what they need to be looking at for their maintenance. And then we send this report out once everything is compiled to each of the municipalities, key people there. Often it's the public works and the parks departments that, and mainly really the parks departments that are maintaining the trails. So we make sure that this gets to them directly. So you can see as I scroll down, each part of the Two Rivers Greenway has its own page. And at the end here, these are some of we take photos of each of the events that I mentioned where there's particular significant pieces of that need to be addressed. And what you're seeing here, and I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see it better. Just some examples of curb cuts that need to be fixed where there's access to the trails. There's a piece of trail here where it's been washed out on the side. This is actually a ADA accessible ramp to get to part of the trail system that's been washed out. We noticed also too, and have had reports, people reporting to us that some of our signs were not accessible to those that are in wheelchairs. For example, this interpretive sign, there's no way for anyone in a wheelchair to get close enough to look at it. And this one down here is it's set up way too high for people to look at it. So who are in wheelchairs, using wheelchairs. So those are noted. And then we have some signs where there has been some damage to them. So the municipalities also maintain those signs. And then, yeah, just some other issues along the trail that we make note of here. There's some of that knotweed that's all over the place. And then we give basically the spreadsheet that comes from that collector app. And so it gives each 10th mile portion is listed here, and it shows the payment score as well as the maintenance score, as well as the notes that are taken for each of those 10th mile segments. And so that the municipalities have the details of the scoring there. So that's basically what comprises the trail maintenance report. I do also want to show the interactive map here. So reshare that screen. Okay, and this is also accessible from our website. So again, this is another tool that it's available to the public, but also to the municipalities. And as you can see, as you zoom in, you can click on these pieces and it pops up with the information, again, that was on the collector app, and that you saw that was in the spreadsheet. That's all in here. And where there are photos that are available in some of these as well. Yeah, here's one here. So this is showing again a poor this one received a poor condition score, but just showing the grass that's growing up within the trail and the general condition of the trail there. And so that pretty much is it. The idea again is to do this every 2 years, and just to be an assistance to the municipalities, and so that they're aware of the conditions of the trails, what needs to be done, and to encourage them to make it a higher priority to maintain the trails. And not just build them and forget about them, but that stressing the importance of ongoing and frequent maintenance. But are there any questions about the report?
Scott, this is Karen. I have a quick question. One thing, this looks great, and one thing I'm really curious about, have you guys done or plan to do any sort of analysis about the construction techniques used to develop the trail, and then look at what the maintenance costs were incurred? So like, does it make sense to, if you're going to put asphalt down, to invest the money and doing, all the subgrade improvements and then putting the asphalt on top, as opposed to maybe minimizing that and putting in the asphalt, and what then the conditions of the trail are? Just so we can make some better maybe recommendations about the way the trail should be constructed.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll be able to do that as we get several years of this rating continuing on. And if we see trends with, especially if there's a repair made to a trail and we see it deteriorating quickly again, similar to what happens with our pavement rating scores on the roadways. A lot of times we'll see a trend where this one roadway is deteriorating quickly after getting repaired, and we're able to diagnose maybe it's the type of construction like you're talking about that is the issue. I showed that one picture of that ramp that was kept on getting washed out, and so it's recognized that they can't keep just filling it in with asphalt. That there's a construction issue there that needs to be done to make that to be able to withstand frequent flooding and high water issues there. So I could see as years go on and we do more and more ratings, we'll be able to see trends and be able to determine whether different paving techniques are better than others, I think.
Part of the reason I'm asking is I know one of the things DOT is lacking is good design details for shared use facilities that are separate from the roadway, that are completely independent of the roadway. And as we're thinking about that, I was just wondering how we can use some of the information that you collected, to help us with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. This is Rima Shimia from CDTC. You mentioned that the part that's under construction is 2 miles, but how many miles is in the total trail network that's in the maintenance report?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. There's about 11 miles now that's built out. Once that trail from downtown Binghamton to the Vestal campus of Binghamton University, that will add another 2.5 miles onto that. So right now it took us about 2.5 days really to collect the data. And we did that on our bikes, basically. Sometimes we had to, like the one out in Owego, we had to drive out there. So that's a half an hour. And then that was a short one. That's bikes aren't allowed on that. So we walked that. That's maybe not even, I would say a little over half a mile. It's a short piece, but it just took time to get out there and walk it. So basically a total of 2.5 days to collect the data.
That was going to be my follow-up question. It's like, how many staff hours did it take to generate the maintenance report?
Mm-hmm.
11.5 miles.
Yeah, it went quicker than actually we anticipated. So I think key, at least this first time, was setting up the collector app, and that's something that I know the MPO Association is looking at getting some training on doing. So, that's something that I need to learn now, and hopefully some others in our office will learn that as well. I think that's what took the most time initially, but once that's set up, it should be easy to use each time we go out there. But the collecting of data didn't take really long.
Ed Brennan has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Question for you. Do you have is there like a standard agreement with municipalities on how pavement maintenance and, well, you've divided up between pavement and maintenance, but pavement maintenance and trash removal of that other kind of maintenance? Is there any kind of standard how that's done, or is it different from municipality to municipality?
Yeah, there's no standards. What has typically happened with these trails is that they get built and then turned over to the parks departments to maintain. And it has been an issue with them probably not receiving the amount of care that they should have. And so often they'll react to calls from the public that there's a need to, take care of some vegetation, or there's a hazard on the trail, or there's been some type of pavement issue. So they're more reactive than proactive in maintaining the trails. So what we're really hoping that this will help them to do is to have a ongoing knowledge of what's going on, and see that since we're doing this regularly, that they need to be looking at the trails more regularly and the maintenance issues along there. So, but yeah, each municipality is pretty much autonomous in how they maintain their trails.
With the new 2.5 mile, was anything looked at beforehand as far as maintenance is concerned? Like who's, have you learned from the past as far as getting this new 2.5 mile section put in, how it's going to be maintained in the future?
Yeah, somewhat. So this new 2.5 mile section of trail is being built by our state DOT. And so that in the whole process of developing the project, the city of Binghamton, as well as the town of Vestal, have been involved in that planning process. So they've been aware of this all along, of their need to maintain this after it's built. So as this was a pretty big project, it's been several years process that the municipalities have been involved. So I think they understand the need to maintain it well, and they're not excited about it, I don't think, but I think they understand that it's important to maintain it.
Thanks.
And I think that's the thing, is communication. Just keep communicating as much as possible, and we try to do that through our MPO when we have our planning committee meetings and policy committee meetings, dealing with the officials there and bringing up these issues during those meetings as well, as well as communicating throughout the year, like with this trail rating system now.
But nothing in writing.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing in writing. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Scott, there's a question in the chat. Have you considered using drones with LiDAR to do your trail assessment? This seems very fast and very heavy data.
Yeah. We haven't considered that. We have talked about how we could use drones, I guess, in the office, but that is something that is definitely a tool that might be advantageous. I think at this point we've and through our first experience of going out and rating the trails, it's been effective to be out there on the bikes. It's been quick and effective of actually riding on the trail there, having that direct contact with it. So yeah, no plans to use drones at this point.
there any other questions for Scott?
Yes, Scott, I had a question. Do you have friends groups that are active, taking care of, have any responsibility for small management tasks? And if you do, are there certain elements of the trail maintenance plan that could be assigned to a friends group, either through an annual work day or ongoing kind of a trail adoption program?
Mhm. Yeah, there's only one group, let's say a garden club that does the garden beds in one of the parks that's on the trail. So that this is something that we really would like to develop more in our area, and it's something that we've seen other places like in the Albany area and around New York that have been taking advantage of those Friends of the Trails type groups or community organizations. So that's something that we definitely want to make more use of and emulate from what we've seen around the state. So it's not much at all yet, but definitely something that we want to be working on.
Thanks.
Right. Any last question for Scott? No. Okay, well, thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much for your time, and we will definitely link to the report and the interactive map so that our committee members have a chance to explore it more. And yeah, would you mind if we shared your slides also in our notes afterwards?
Sure, absolutely. So I would need to get those to you, right? Or yeah, so I'll make sure you get those. Yes. Mhm.
I'll be in touch after our meeting. All right.
Great.
So let's see if I can do this. What do people say?
We see the previous videos here.
Do you see the slide?
No.
No.
I'm seeing your slide. It's not in presentation view though.
So okay.
I thought that was from Binghamton.
Okay. What about now?
Now it looks good.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So our next agenda item is the recap on a number of our TDM events that have occurred in the last month. So I'm actually going to switch over here to actually. Different computer than I'm used to doing this presentation.
It also doesn't help that I got you my slides late, so you didn't have a chance to put them in.
Oh, they're saying nothing.
Oh, they're seeing nothing. So you don't see a sign that says Happy Bike to Work Day, everybody?
Hold
No?
on.
It's just white.
White.
All right. I got
Yeah,
it.
so I log
So
into the
sorry.
meeting so you can see what we're seeing.
Mhm.
That's handy.
Yeah, I got in the habit of doing that because of having similar issues.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we see now?
Now we see something that says Happy Bike to Work Day.
That's
Yay,
good.
okay.
Thank you.
So actually, the sign, Happy Bike to Work Day sign, is from a really enthusiastic bike to worker who took it upon herself to organize a Skyway celebration station. And she painted that glorious sign for her celebration station. So I thought it would be a really great interest slide. Could you go to the next one? So we reinstituted our Bike to Work Challenge for the first time since 2019. We took a 2-year hiatus because of COVID. This year we held it on a Wednesday, and we held it a couple of weeks after the National Bike to Work Day, which is typically on a Friday in mid-May. We were toying back in 2020 before COVID hit of bumping it back a couple of weeks to allow the weather to dry out and warm up a little bit. So we decided to try that this year. So we held it on June 1st. And we developed back in 2020 a new standings page to try to streamline the team member tracking and recruitment. So we launched that this year as well. Could you go to the next slide? So we had 275 participants this year with 33 teams, and we also created this new system where people, instead of only having the option of joining a challenge team, which created a huge proliferation of one-person teams, we created the option of joining just a community team. So we had 46 people pledged to join their county community team. And then we had over 35 social media posts associated with our event hashtag. And so the event actually was quite a bit smaller than it has been in past years. In 2019, we had almost 700 people participate. We often piggybacked with Bring Your Commute, which was DEC and would organize a statewide, employee statewide event. And they have now pushed that back into the fall. So there's been a lot less activity in the spring around biking, and then also teleworking sort of ate into the activity as well, and it just sort of lost some of the momentum, having taken a 2-year break and a number of other factors. So the participation was smaller, but it was actually still quite enthusiastic. The slide shows a couple of the participants. The city of Albany always hosts a ride. So on the far right, the very far right, that's Mayor Sheehan there with some of her city employees celebrating Bike to Work Day. They led a group over the Skyway this year. And I, on the far left, that's not sort of the camera angle. If the man looks a little bit bigger than the bike, that's because he was so excited about biking to work that he didn't have his own bike, that he took his son's bike to work that day. So that's a little dedication. So we did have some, so there were some pros and cons to this year. So the non-challenge bike to work option that I mentioned, that option to join a community team, that was pretty popular, so that was good. But the standings page that we developed was glitchy. So that's something that we need to look into for the future. And also, we pushed the date back to, in the hopes that it'll be drier and warmer, but it still rained. So, we can't win. So we are going to be releasing a post-event survey this week when we announce the trophy and social media raffle winners. So that is still pending. So walk and roll to school. Again, we typically hold a bike to school challenge along with the bike to work challenge, and hold that on the same week because we moved bike to work back this year. We also pushed our school encouragement programming back to the same day as well. So we pushed it back to June 1st. And we wanted to make it more inclusive to include all modalities. So we sort of retooled it, sort of rebranded it to be a walk and roll to school event instead of just a bike to school event. And so we also developed a walk and roll toolkit and put that out this year, and also organized an information session and blasted those items out to a bunch of school staff all over the region to try to get the word out that there's this thing called Walk and Roll, and they might want to think about participating and attending this information session. Had maybe about 10 people attend the information session and 10 views on the YouTube channel so far, and it'll be up there for, you know, indefinitely. Hopefully it'll get more views in the future. And then, so just a little bit about Walk and Roll to School Day. Like I said, we modified it to include more modes. We changed the day to coincide with our regional Bike to Work Day. We released the toolkit, we held an info session, and we got at least one new school to participate this year. And here's a few photos from Lake Avenue Elementary in Saratoga Springs from this year's event that they held. The photo on the bottom is their prim and proper, their words, prim and proper principal riding on the back of a bicycle. Having a good time. And so last but not least, Ditch the Car launched last week. And it'll run through Labor Day. And it is designed to be sort of more of an independent solo type of encouragement program. And it includes basically all non-SOV modes, like all modes that involve travel besides traveling alone in your car. And for any reason besides recreational trips. So if you're running an errand, you're going to the grocery store, you're visiting a friend, you're going out to dinner, you're going to a movie, going to work, whatever reason you have, besides just, something going for a hike, something like that, not so much. We're trying to capture those trips that you would do in your car and trying to shift them into other modes. So you can go to our website, cdtcmpo.org/justthecar. You can, it's very easy and simple to create an account, and you start logging your trips. And there's these fun badges that you can earn, and every month you can be entered to win a bundle of prizes that are shown on your screen by earning badges or posting on social media about your fun experiences stitching your car. That's that last slide. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about Bike to Work, Bike to School, or Ditch the Car?
I really like your graphics. Did you make those in Canva? Are
Yes.
those put there?
Thanks. Yeah, Canva's great. It's super easy and fun.
Anyone else? Let's see if I can do this. Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. It's not, well, no, it's not. That's the thing. That other one's not. Okay. I'm gonna apologize to everybody. We're gonna,
Sometimes if you stop sharing, it starts sharing again.
I know that's what I was doing last time, but this time it's not working and I don't wanna keep people while I finish around with the slides, so I'm gonna keep on going. Okay, so our next agenda item is the tip update. So the draft tip was approved by the planning committee and our policy board meets on June 23rd. You may notice that that June 23rd schedule is not our typical policy board schedule, and we did have to rearrange some meeting dates. So they are meeting June 23rd to vote on the approval of the draft tip to be released to public review. Upon approval, we will begin the public review and consultation period on June 27th, and we expect it to go through August 12th. During that time period, we will have a virtual workshop. We will have a number of kind of like pop-up in-person outreach events where we'll piggyback on other events that are going on in the region to expand our reach. And then we will host at least one, we're aiming for 2 in-person open house style meetings for the tip. And then policy board will meet September 1st, and that is when they will review and decide whether to adopt the tip. Now, as you can see, we are leaving some time between when public review ends and the policy board meets to review public comments and discuss them with our planning committee and policy board members before there is a vote. If you go to the CDTC website, we do have new information uploaded and able to be downloaded to view if you would like to, including lists for the draft proposed tip projects, a funding summary. We still have the project fact sheets for each project that was programmed and an interactive project map. So this is the proposed funding summary, a total of $313 million were programmed. This funding total is the matched and inflated amount. So not necessarily the amount that the sponsors requested. And I think one thing to keep in mind with the BIPED is that the planning committee went into this without knowing which projects were funded for CMAQ and TAP. And I don't believe we have those projects still publicly. Yeah, okay. And then BP next to a project type is abbreviation for beyond preservation. And that means that the projects are like is new, replacement, reconstruction. It's beyond just maintenance of that piece of infrastructure, to put it simply. And the Knives multi-site is those are state DOT projects. The CDTA set aside, which I actually don't. Okay, the CDTA set aside is for mainly for bus rapid transit projects, and the CDTC set aside is for part of our planning program. This is the list of BIPED projects that were programmed. So the town of Glenville, Freeman's Bridge Road multi-use path phase 2, the Craig Street connector project in the city of Schenectady, as well as the Schenectady Park connector expansion, the Saratoga Springs pedestrian and ADA traffic signal improvement project, Town of Bethlehem's Cherry Avenue Extension multi-use path. And that is actually, as you can see, the cost is about $409,000. I believe that is just for the design and engineering portion of that project, which will help move that project forward to implementation. The Town of East Greenbush Gilligan Road Side Path and Multimodal Enhancements Project. Similarly, that is for design and engineering. And the Saratoga County Zim Smith Northern Trail Extension. So that's Boston Spa into the Spa State Park, and that is also for design and engineering. So different than previous tips, we did have some projects that sponsors that elected to just receive design and engineering funds to help move the projects forward. So while those projects are moving forward, they will also be seeking other grant opportunities to fund construction. And as more information is available on the tip, such as the dates for all public events, we will notify the advisory committee. The Capital Coexist program for 2022 is currently open, and we are accepting applications for the demonstrations and the local events on a rolling basis. So there's $20,000 reserved for community-led short-term traffic safety infrastructure demonstration projects, and $15,000 for bicycle and pedestrian safety events led by local police departments. And then we've also reserved $5,000 to support bike skills, safety training, and maintenance workshops by LCI trainers. And this is leading up to Bike to Work Day, but we are continuing to support this post Bike to Work Day, and we're also supporting youth bike skills training programs. The CDTC CDRPC Technical Assistance Program is open. There's a range of eligible projects that CDTC and CDRPC will fund. Sponsors that are interested in the program, these are really low budget, small scale types of planning initiatives, but they should email techassist@cdrpc.org to discuss the request, and we will meet and talk about your proposed project and decide on a scope and a budget and how to approach the application. We've been funding this program for the last couple of years, and we've gotten a real range of projects from mapping and data collection to small trail feasibility types of studies, zoning kind of audits, or assistance with kind of inventorying or assessing conditions before a comp plan process or new zoning ordinance. So there's a real range of initiatives that CDTC and CDRPC can support, and we're happy to talk about them with you. 25% match is required, and it can be cash or in kind. So you just have to track your hours for meeting and assisting with things like data collection or other information gathering tasks. The bipartisan infrastructure law. So the TIP did not include all of these other discretionary and formula funding programs that we've been hearing about that were part of the infrastructure law. You may be getting emails or hearing about new funding opportunities, new grant programs from USDOT or from other organizations. CDTC has created a web page to track these discretionary programs and formula funding programs at cdtcmpo.org/bill. And as we learn about them, we are posting information. We are seeing if we can get fact sheets or some information to help really summarize these programs for everyone, because there are right now, there's a handful of programs that are out, and there are a lot more that we're anticipating to be announced, and they're there's a lot to keep track of, but we are going to help and assist and try and promote these so that everyone is familiar with them and has a chance to apply. The Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program is currently open and applications are being accepted through September 15th. So is the pilot program for transit-oriented development planning, and that's open through July 25th. We are expecting more details on formula programs, including the carbon reduction program, which looks like a pretty, there's a real broad range of types of projects that would be eligible under that program. And the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program, both require the state to develop a statewide plan before communities can begin applying for funds, and the MPOs are working closely with state DOT and NYSERDA and other state agencies that are involved in these. So again, as we have more information, we will be sharing them. Upcoming notice of funding opportunities, which it's referred to as NOFOs, will be coming up, and we'll continue to update our webpage to reflect new programs and announcements. So many of you are probably familiar or have seen the really great news that funding to replace the Livingston Avenue Bridge was announced, and that it will include a bicycle and pedestrian path. The anticipated cost of the project is about $400 million, and that includes both federal and state funds. The public review period is open. I believe public comments are due tomorrow, June 15th. CDTC has submitted comments supporting the preferred alignment, but Martin Daly, he attended the meeting and has some more details if I missed anything. Right?
Yeah, there's two design alternatives. Both of them feature a pedestrian walkway. There's a little clarity that might be necessary for how that walkway connects on the western approach. In some of the design scenarios, it looks like there is a plan to create a berm that would allow the walkway to circle back to the trail. In another design scenario, which is illustrated here, that walkway continues to the Skyway. I think most people have commented that a direct connection to the Skyway without the added necessity of constructing the berm facility would be preferable, but it's really great to see that the walkway has been incorporated in the structure, because it's something that has been advocated for 10 years. So really great to see this. As Jen mentioned, the public comment period on the environmental impact statement and the eminent domain proceedings that are needed for some small amount of acreage on the east side, that closes tomorrow at 5 p.m. June 15th. So get comments in.
Yeah, and on the project website, you can watch a recording of the public meeting webinar and review the environmental assessment document. So this project has been kind of a key project of the region that CDTC has highlighted probably for the last 20 years. I know there's been a lot of false starts and expectations of it being replaced, and then that haven't come to fruition. But this is moving forward, and this will create a connection that's also really important to our regional trail system. So. New Visions updates. We continue our monthly virtual learning series. Our next webinar is on the 21st of this month, and it will focus on TDM, and it will provide an overview of CDTC's TDM programs, and we're working with our partners at CDTA and 511 New York to highlight some of the programs, things that are offered for commuters here in the capital region. Just an update on some of the status of our ongoing planning studies. This includes linkage, technical assistance, and other studies. I won't go through all of them because I did include this in the agenda and I'll include it in the notes again. But we have a number of projects that are new and kicking off. The first round of public input for the Federal Street Corridor study in Troy is scheduled to begin this month. And there is a website for that project, fixfederalstreet.com. That's a newer project that you may have not had the opportunity to visit that website and see what that's all about yet. We have a number of new studies, Hoosick Road Corridor Study in Brunswick, Sand Creek Complete Street Feasibility Study in the Village of Colony, and the City of Schenectady, Albany and Crane Streets Linkage Study. A number of technical assistant projects are wrapping up or just completed. And then, of course, we have a number of ongoing, bigger regional types of projects, like the Patroon Creek Greenway study. The public comment period on that has ended, and a final report will be is being prepared, and that will be completed by the end of this month. The bus lane feasibility study is moving forward, and we expect to wrap that up by the end of the summer. As you can see, there's a number of other regional projects. So I won't get into all of them, but again, this was in the attached to the agenda and will be included in the notes if you're looking for the status of a specific project. Other planning and project updates. One thing I wanted to bring up that I've learned over the last month is kind of an update on how Empire State Trail and New York State Greenways are being managed. There has been a little bit of a shift. Andy Beers from the Hudson River Valley Greenway, who was leading the Empire State Trail project, has retired, well deserved. And much of the communications, coordination, and management of the statewide trails, including the Empire State Trail, has been kind of shifted to New York State Office of Park Recreation and Historic Preservation. So Chris Morris and Molly Riley are our main contacts at OPRHP on this. And Parks and Trails New York has also picked up some responsibilities. They're partnering with the state. So I'm hoping to get Dylan from Parks and Trails to a future meeting to kind of lay out everything that they're doing and how they're collecting information on the trail and managing the conditions and kind of doing long range planning and working with other parts of the states where Empire State Trail doesn't currently go through, but but like places like Long Island and this other tier where there are other potential for trail connections. So if you are looking for someone to answer an Empire State Trail question, OPRHP is now your contact. So with that, we do have a little bit of time. If anyone has a project status update that they want to share or just an announcement. Nobody? I don't believe that no one is doing anything, but anyway. I also wanted to thank Saratoga County for our last meeting in May. We met on the Zim Smith Trail, and Jason Kemper from Saratoga County met us out there and walked with us for quite a distance, kind of giving us an overview of the recently completed extension from Half Moon to Mechanicville, some of the roadblocks and obstacles they faced in building the trail and how they, were pretty creative and innovative to overcome them. How they worked with local property owners to, have a really great trail that did go through some private property like golf courses, but how they kind of designed it so that those land uses could coexist, and it works really nicely. So if you haven't had a chance to get out on that new piece of the Simsbury Trail, I recommend it. A lot of engineering work went into making that trail possible, and it's really impressive. They did a really good job, and it was very nice for them to spend the morning with us. So our next meeting is scheduled for July. There is no date there. It is the second Tuesday of July. I'm having a hard
The whole
time with
meeting's in
dates lately,
July.
apparently.
Every
It's not all of July. It is, let's see, July 12th. And it will also be hybrid, so we have opened up our office, and we are excited and happy to be hosting meetings here again. So we hope that some people do decide to visit us and be with us here in the office. Otherwise, there will be a virtual option. And also, oh, Mark, thank you so much. Mark Schaefer reminded me, the New York State Climate Action Council is accepting written comments on the draft scoping plan until July 1st. That deadline has been extended. There's a link in the chat that Mark put there if you'd like. And there are a number of transportation strategies that are laid out in that draft scoping plan. CDTC is also submitting comments on that. Thank you, Mark. That's a good reminder. So with that, I hope to see everyone in July, and yeah, have a good rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.